Live from sunny Live Oak, Florida, it's the Pro Arms Podcast.
Hi everybody, this is Gail and we're on the road again. Mass and I are in Smyrna, Georgia, visiting Glock, looking at their brand new introduction. We're going to have Mass interview Chris Edwards and Bob Radecki. Okay, Mass, why don't you start?
Hey gang, it's March the 4th, 2015, and you will not be hearing this until at least the 20th because all of us here have signed a non-disclosure agreement until that announcement date on the long-awaited slimline single-stack 9mm Glock, specifically the Glock 43. 6+1 looks to me more like a Glock 42 380 on a very mild dose of steroids than it does a slimmed-down Glock 26. But I'm going to turn you over to the National Sales Manager, Bob Radecki, and Master Instructor and GSSF Coordinator Chris Edwards, who can tell you way more about this gun than I can. Folks, welcome to the Pro Arms Podcast.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
Well, the G43 is the normal progression from our introduction to the G42 last year. The gun is, as Matt said, very similar in size to the G42. It's slightly larger to accommodate the larger dimension of the 9mm cartridge versus the 380 cartridge. Barrel length is 3.38 inches. As Matt said, it's a 6-round plus 1 magazine capacity. It's about an inch wide. It's very easy to carry in a pocket and or in a holster or purse, depending on your preferred method of carry. It gives a very mild recoil impulse. The gun shoots extremely flat. It's very difficult to tell the difference really between it and the Model 42 and 380.
I would say that visually too. I mean, when I first saw it, putting them on a table beside each other, they look really similar. I had the opportunity to test fire some of them, and I was very impressed with the accuracy. I know I'm a company guy, but you know, you and I have seen each other at GSSF matches and that sort of thing for years, and I'd like to have a pistol that'll shoot relatively well. I shot some Hornady Critical Defense, for example, into a group at 50 feet that was just over an inch. We were talking about it earlier. Had that little loaded round flyer that just didn't quite touch the group, but I was impressed with the accuracy and with the controllability. The pistol itself mimics, if you will, the design of the Glock 42. You have the reversible magazine catch that's a Gen 4 feature, but you can reverse it in this if you wanted to. The grip is not quite as rough. It has that Gen 4 checkering or texture, if you will, but with no finger groove. And the slide stop lever, slide lock are all basically in the same position. As far as this gun, as far as an operator is concerned, at the basic level of maintenance, it's going to field strip the same as a Glock and pretty much work the same as a Glock.
One thing everybody noticed with the 42 when they took it apart was, oh my God, it's not my exact favorite Glock with the parts just slightly scaled. Is there going to be any internal parts interchangeability in this gun like there is between a 26, a 19, a 17, and a 34?
No, I mean, there are basically only 3 or 4 parts between 42, 43, this smaller subcompact slim gun, if you will, that are interchangeable with the other larger models, if you will. Things like spring cups, firing pin spring, that sort of thing. But the design itself, as you pointed out, is start out with a 42 trigger spring. We now have trigger spring assembly. It's different, you know, from the other versions that we've seen for decades. And obviously because of its slimness, if you will, the pins are going to be unique to it. So it's pretty much of its own breed as far as the parts are concerned. There's just a couple of things in there that are going to interchange.
I understand there's already been some interest from law enforcement agencies as an issue backup gun.
Absolutely. We've been talking to some of the agencies who have, local agencies actually, who have actually adopted the 42, and with the introduction of the 43, they're extremely interested in moving up to 9mm over the 380, although they've had very good success with the 42. The ammo interchangeability, most of the agencies are in 9mm that are, of course, looking to go to the 43 and 9mm as well. So we have gotten some very, very strong interest in this new gun.
Given the current popularity of 380 and 9mm, is a 40 caliber version of this on the radar screen at all anywhere?
Not that I'm aware of at this particular time. That's something that we've talked about, but as far as it being actually in the planning process, not at this time, but that could change very quickly.
All of us who follow the internet know all the Glock fanboys have been crying for 14 months that woe is us, the new slim baby Glock that should have been 9mm is only a mere 380, and if we buy it, it will reduce our testosterone, and whatever will we do? And yet, if it's the Glock nobody wanted, I understand you guys sold 200,000 of them in calendar 2014.
What we found is a lot of the people who were naysayers, and I don't want a 380, as soon as they shot the gun, they changed their mind. Because the gun, the 42, is such a great shooting little gun. It has very little recoil. The size is right. With the 42 and the 43, the one of the key things about these pistols as compared to some of the other guns that are on the market is you can actually train with this gun. You can shoot it a lot. That was probably more true with the 42 than the 43. The 43 is a little bit larger, and of course will still have the same warranty that all Glocks have, basically a 40,000 round limited lifetime warranty. So, and we've shot in excess of 40,000 rounds through a number of different examples, and they come through with fine colors.
So a couple of things from my perspective, as you know, I was in law enforcement back in Kentucky. I just, really am pleasantly not surprised, but I'm pleased with the size of it. I had a 42, has a sales sample, if you will. I'm not too worried about my masculinity, but the ability to carry it just about anywhere, a pocket, was important to me, and that happened. Now it's happened with the 43. So yeah, you do take a step up as far as the power is concerned, but the gun shoots so well. Both of them shoot so well, but the 43 shoots so well. As I say, I was pleasantly surprised at that little group that I shot.
Will these be available with night sight options?
Yes, they will. We have night sights that should become available very shortly after introduction.
Well, one thing that really pleased me with it, I have one of those hands that, with the regular size Glock, I get to the pad of the finger, which looks like what Gaston Glock and his engineers designed it to do for an average size hand. But after all the years of revolver shooting, I kind of like to work off the distal joint. Mm-hmm. I found with your 380, I practically had to disarticulate my trigger finger to get there because, it was such a short trigger reach. Mm-hmm. And this one is kind of like Mama Bear's porridge. It's the trigger reach looks to me to be about, 2 millimeters ahead of the 42, 2 or 3 millimeters longer?
Yeah, approximately, probably 3 to 4. Basically, the main difference in size of the 43 as compared to the 42 is mainly in the grip. As I said, basically the overall length of the 9mm cartridge is approximately 4 millimeters longer than the overall length of a 380. So, of course, the magazine will have to be a little bit larger, thus stretching out the trigger reach, which is the dimension you're talking about. So, yeah, it would be a little bit longer.
Just speaking subjectively, that was the first thing that endeared me to the gun. I didn't feel the recoil was bad at all. Gail, what was your take on it, shooting it as a petite female?
No,
shooter?
I shot at least 50 rounds through it, both two-handed and one-handed. I shot at least 12 rounds one-handed, and I could probably shoot this for hours. I would not feel uncomfortable taking this to a class or shoot at a Glock match, because it doesn't hurt to shoot. If you take like a snubby to a class, after a while it's really going to hurt your hand. This was not like this. This did not hurt my hand at all. And as for grip you're talking about, when you're talking about a little bit bigger, it's just a tiny bit bigger. It's barely discernible how much bigger this is. I think the trigger feels a little different than the 42 trigger. It may be just me. It may be a subjective thing. Mm-hmm. but I think the trigger pull feels a little bit different to me.
In what way?
I always compared the Glock 42 trigger to like a revolver trigger, and this one feels more Glockish, if that makes any sense. I don't know, maybe it's the way I'm pulling it, just because of the way my finger fits in it, but it seemed like a longer trigger.
It also could be the grip.
It could be the grip,
with
yeah.
that 3 to 4 millimeters extra length.
But it fits very comfortably in my hand. I've already talked about all the different ways we could probably carry this gun, because it is so tiny. You know, it would be fine in a belly band. It'd be fine if you were to use purse carry. Probably would fit in a flashbang when they make a flashbang holster, because it's not that big and not that heavy. Are there holsters going to be available for it soon?
Very shortly after introduction.
Shortly after introduction, that's great.
When the 42 came out, we noticed it had a lower MSRP than the standard Glock line. What's the price point retail going to be on this?
That one is MSRP is $540.
And that compares
Which is
to
a
like
little-
what for a 26?
Slightly, it's basically right in between the Gen 3 26 and a 42. So it's right in the middle.
They're going to be larger capacity magazines than 6 rounds available for it.
What, like 33 rounds?
As far as I know, we're pretty much locked into the 6-round magazine at this time.
Now, it comes with 2 magazines, right? But one has a little of extension, but
Correct.
no more capacity, correct?
That's correct. It'll
Okay.
have basically a pinky extension on one magazine and a flush magazine, and both are 6-round capacity.
So if one were to shoot this in the GSSF match, would that be shot in pocket Glock with the Glock 42?
Yes, that's the category to fall
Okay.
into. We've got, we already have that lined out as far as the scoring system and that sort of thing. So it'll fit right into the pocket Glock division of GSSF.
That'll be great.
When's going to be the first match where someone will be able to shoot one of these in pocket Glock at GSSF?
Well, it depends on when you buy one.
So right now, as of now, this is eligible for pocket Glock?
Well, it will be eligible when it's introduced. I think the introduction is in April, so I'd anticipate
The official introduction date is April 10th, which is the first day of the NRA show. And at that point, we'll be able to it'll be able to be shot in GSSF matches.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to it. If the poor little orphan 380 sold 200,000 in 1 year, what's sales projection for this little guy with all the buzz? And
We expect to beat the 42 projection. So we're very confident that the gun is going to do very well, and that our customers will be very happy with the product that they receive.
I think I know some people who've been waiting for this and anticipating this, because this has been in the rumor mill for a very long time now. And frankly, I pictured it. I actually pictured a skinny Glock 19, so I was surprised when I saw this today. That was in my mind's eye, at least.
yeah, it's smaller than that.
Much smaller than that.
Much smaller, yeah.
fellas, thanks so much for taking the time with us. We're looking forward to getting a T&E sample and putting it through more paces than we could today. But so far, it's certainly looking good. And folks, Glock did listen to you. Glock 43 is here.
Thank you, sir. See you on a range somewhere, Moss.
Thank
Hope
you.
so, Chris.
Thank you both for being on the podcast.
You're welcome.
Pro Arms Podcast music is by Kevin MacLeod.